guys, peace. Hope you're all well. Just gonna come on and do a quick video. It's been a minute. Of course, I've been super busy as usual and traveling a bit, working on projects and getting rest as well. But as usual, so much going on. I know you guys are keeping up with all this going on. Every day, it just seems like time is just exponentially just and I can't even hardly keep up. I try to jot stuff down, but so much that's so spectacular is happening. I'm just imagining that we're just not supposed to be talking about it all, or something. But it's okay, because I do realize, I said a long time ago that really whatever is coming out of you is coming out of at least, a certain number of people as well, simultaneously, right? So it's not just like it's you, it's other people that are getting the same information and downloads and aggregating the data. So yeah, it's not like, you got to talk about it, because it's gonna come up. But it's all, it's all love. It's just all about sharing information, really. That's all we're really doing. It's just really sharing information that we have and that we get downloads from, so that we can keep the end game in mind. The goal is not competition. The goal is for everybody to get the information and evaluate it and feel it and integrate it and wake up, and to share with each other, right? So yeah, it's a lot, but I wanted to talk a little bit today about shape-shifting, because I've been trying to talk about it for a long time, and I just forget each time, because I'm always, impromptu. That's the way I'm fitting these videos in lately, just impromptu. So what I wanted to talk about, so shape-shifting is a concept that's in lots of different cultures. In Native American, indigenous culture, it is, and in any shamanic culture, it is known as, the process of what an empath does, is preceded by empathic skills. And when I say empathic, I mean, we have several different definitions for empathic gifts, but people don't always really put them together for other different contexts, right? So with the empathic gift that I'm talking about that leads to shapeshifting, it's I think I've spoken on this before. It's when you are able to merge with something else, and the way you start that, and it's really a prerequisite for higher development in the spiritual and shamanistic initiations. So because the bottom line is, feeling others, feeling the love, being one is the nature of our highest spiritual realization. It's not, contrary to the popular belief that we've been told, is that our highest purpose is to you know, express our individuality. Nah, that's secondhand, that's secondary, right? Because we come from the one, but even as we came from the one, we were still conscious and intelligent within our individual aspects. So think of it like this. I remember when I was really young, I was over at the Hare Krishna temple hanging out in my early 20s, and I had this really good conversation with this one brother, and he like broke it down for me, and explained like how, I'm sure you guys have heard this since then. I'm not trying to say this is anything new, but it's a nice way to understand it. All of the different cells in your body, right? They have their own specialization within a particular part of your body, right? So the cells in your foot all have a localized, purpose and task within that location. But let's say if you were an architect and you wanted the cells in your feet to understand how the cells in your brain operate or experience it on a intelligent, internal intelligent level, not the brain intelligent, but the intelligence of the whole system, right? Or a company, you could say. I always talk about that, a department store that had all these different departments, but as the CEO, you wanted each of your team members to understand what each department, what it was like in each department, specializing in each department. So you send them to each of those departments and you let them be, be sales for the day or year or whatever, however long you felt like it would take for them to understand the different components of the whole. Okay, so we're like that. We are like cells in the body of the Creator, the Most High. And we, in our unending, movement through space, time, and reality, and life, and beingness, because it's more than all those things I just mentioned. Beingness is more than this limited life here on this limited planet in this limited dimension and time space continuum. So you keep moving into different expressions of your beingness. And one day I'll tell the story. I don't want to spend a lot of time on here today, but one day I'll tell a story about when I did years ago, over a decade ago, I did we call it the vine, before it was popular, ayahuasca. And I remember, with the family, the group that I was in at the time, we would get together and we would do it ceremonially, and then we would spend the night together and, have, fellowship, so to speak. And I remember I was going through, this was maybe into the second year, maybe. I started going into this thing where when I would, convene with the plant medicine and all of the, all of the beings, the nature beings, the spirit beings. It's very profound. I can't even begin to, that would take volumes and volumes to express what I got out of that initiation, which I no longer really partake in. It's been some years now since I've, and that's what I'm speaking to, since I've done ayahuasca, because I kind of, you hit the plateau. You're not doing it for recreation. You're not doing it to escape your problems and stuff like that. You know, it's a journey you go on, and it can come and go. But I think anything meaningful becomes even more meaningful cyclically when you take a break from it, you know, and you you know, or and sometimes you just won't need to do it at all anymore, you know, because you've hit the plateau for that particular initiation experience. So, and that's not to say I'll never do it again. It's not like it wasn't anything that I did consciously, like, you know, I think I need to stop doing ayahuasca. It was something that was agreed upon by my spirit, my body, and the spirits of the medicine. So anyway, just, you know, other foci at that time. But the point I was trying to make was, I was talking to the medicine. Oh my God, I think I might have forgot what I was gonna say. I was talking to the medicine. What was I just talking about? Oh, I remember. The state of beingness. I was going through this thing where I don't know where it came from, but it was pretty deep. And I had been in an inquiry internally, and this wasn't even under the, you know, under the in the company of the sacred medicine. This was like on my own, you know, and it was probably triggered by things I was going through, but it was, you know, my spiritual walk, but it wasn't a big deal. Just like one day it came on, and it actually did. Okay, you know what? It came out of channeling. I think at that time, no, I was still doing that. But anyway, it came out of just a weariness. You know, I was really exhausted and tired. And I say I was, yeah, I probably was too. My human was, but I recall that I was dealing with an elder grandmother crone type energy. And you know, those adjectives I just used, I use them actually really lightly because it really felt like it was, you know, the great spirit of the great mother herself, you know, like I had gotten to that point, which, you know, many of us do, where I was one with, you know, with this magnanimous feminine mother, you know, channel. And anyway, I was merging with her, and I got to this point, and it also had to do with the earth too, Mother Earth. I got to this point where I was just super exhausted, and I was like, I'm just tired of all the doing. That's what it was. It's just being really weary with all the doingness, I called it. And I was searching for a space internally in my deep spirit to rest. And that came up to me as rediscovering, and moving into a sense of beingness, which I related to her. And it got real deep. It went, you know, it had all these different movements of understanding in it. And it wasn't the first time I had hit on some of it. So I went into my archives and brought up a lot of other information to help me explore this inquiry / journey initiation. But it was all about getting to a state of beingness and not doingness. And so I even had a conversation with our shaman Armand, about it when I was under the vine, and because it was real. It was a real deep internal. Oh my, I'm seeing a lot of stuff. There's so much rich stuff in the metaverse right now, the internal metaverse. It's a lot of direction for me right now, like compasses, a lot of space stuff, a lot of stuff that has to do with the galactic going ons. I always say the galactic core, but it's been a lot of channeled energy and a lot of travel internally, a lot of stuff that has to do with the struggles and the warring going on with the earth tech. Oh my God, there's so much with that. I'd love to tell you guys. I don't want to get off track because I know this stuff is like channeling. I be trying to make it so formal, but really there's just so much. I'm being led to talk about the electronic devices. About 2 weeks ago, everybody was complaining about their phones dying and electronic devices having all of these like glitches and stuff, and some people are still complaining. And I was on the phone with my internet carrier, like low-key cussing them out, because my internet had gone down for like 24 hours. It's never done 24 total hours, right? So, I was complaining, but more than complaining, and get my credit. But more than that, I was I was sort of demanding that they explain to me. I got my little bougie persona. I shapeshifted into that, and I'm like, I need to understand what's going on, and there were also like guy workers from the electric department that came by, and they were working on poles in the backyard for like 4 days. And I was like, why are they working this long on the poles? And it was at the same time. But when I just sort of casually conversed with them, they were saying, oh, we don't have anything to do with the internet. It's not due to us that the internet's crashing, because neighbors were asking the same thing, like, is what you guys doing, is that like messing up the internet? Because a lot of people were having these problems. This was again maybe a month ago now. So I was talking to them. They kept talking about, oh, it's the nodes, and I was like really going in with them on it, because I was, I don't know if you guys know, I believe that all of these different maneuverings and manipulations are a part of their system that been setting up for a while, and they have to recalibrate things, because originally it was HARP, right? The tower, the receivers and transmitters in Alaska. And then they got it down to where they were able to put those bots inside of bio-encased chips, so to speak. And then they got to the level of injecting people. We thought it was going to be the RFID chips, 20 years ago. But, they moved to using the bio-encased ones, because a lot of the chips they were experimenting on back then were not, they were being rejected by the system. And a lot of these are still being rejected by the system, but they moved to encasement so that it would react like a normal cell in your body, and the body wouldn't attack it. A lot of us, that's what these autoimmune diseases and issues and allergies and stuff have been about, because they've been putting these, experimenting with different versions of these microchips, or bio-encased microchips, or nanobots now with the nanobot technology for decades, for our whole childhood, young adulthood. And so, they were putting them in clothes, material. I've talked about this before. smart, they call it smart this or that. When I first talk about it, everybody, called me crazy because wasn't nobody woke then, right? But now it's easy to believe because they've come out about a lot of this technology. They just are not coming out about the fact that they've been using it on experimenting with it on us for a long time. So, but anyway, oh God, see, I lost my point. Beingness. I'm just gonna go back to the original point. Beingness. I was talking about the tech stuff that happened a few weeks ago, and I was just like, wow. You could tell by the end of that ordeal, which was over a matter of days, and then talking to other people for weeks and finding that like a lot of people were having the same problems, but everybody was just like, oh, my phone's been glitching, oh, my internet's been glitching, oh, my, and everybody would talk about it, and it would be like all over, not just, like I would talk to people in different countries and they were like pretty much saying the same thing. So I could tell that it was as a result of them doing something to upgrade or to, do little tests on this next level of, and they got the satellites up there doing their little tracking stuff and linking up. And now you have Elon, talking about his Neuralink is going to be ready like really soon. So, they've been ramping up. And those of us who know this, it's not even like for the last few years. This has been decades in the process. I mean, they've had their dates, that's why 2020 was a boom, that's why, everybody had we had that world event in 2020 because that 2020 was a deadline date for those of you who know. Most, if you're watching this or you watch any of my videos, you're of the type that's already aware of this kind of stuff. Because everybody's talking about it now, right? But yeah, so anyway, I just that was something I had been meaning to come on and talk about when it was happening, because it was exciting when it was happening in terms of, just being aware of the manipulation of what was happening with the electronics and stuff. It's the same time all the gay stuff was going on. And, they always keep plenty of circus tricks happening in the main form of the fake political system, right? So we got that's about to get even more heated and heavy and entertaining in the weeks and months to come, but as a distractor. But back to this state of beingness versus doingness that I, again, over 12 years was evaluating or had begun to dip into to find a piece that existed in what I call the black, because I used to always talk about 20 years ago and how people are talking about it, the 97%, the dark matter space. People think light and life are the penultimate of our beingness, but they're not. They're like, it's like, and now you see people with these stories and analogies and mythologies who have woken up, and it's so beautiful to feel. But you got to imagine somebody who's been on something for 25 years, and then finally everybody's on it, and you're like, and I'm not trying to be egotistical or nothing, but I just have to tell the truth with regard to, it's just like you're just a little. Only reason I bring it up is because everybody gets so excited about the latest information and woke news of spirituality, and again, the realities beyond, our common limited collective realities as we wake up together, and the agreed reality in the matrix. But when you've exhausted that that body of information and knowledge, and you were digging it up, to put it in the grids, for it to create that critical mass. Then it's just a little boring. Again, I'm not trying to be arrogant, but it's just like a little boring. You're happy. It's just like same with veganism and stuff. Like back in the I was a vegetarian at 19. Well, that's telling my age, but I don't care because I look good. But we're talking about back in the 80s, right? And I always tell people I'm sure I've said this before in one of my videos, there was no tofu. Nobody knew what tofu was. You were a vegetarian or vegan, you were weird as heck. You got, ostracized. But those of us who felt it, for a variety of reasons, it wasn't all for the same reason. For some people it was spiritual, for some people it was political, like it is today. And, I used to always say to young people, as an example of having a dream or something that you, not just a dream, but something you're convicted in, you have deep conviction in, you hold it and you be about it, and it transforms the world. Like it begins to, well, it goes into the grids with the degree of passion and conviction you have. And especially if there's goodness to it, but even when there's not, it can influence from the grids to everyone morphogenetically. That's how I used to explain it decades ago, the morphogenetics of it. So that's why it's so important to to be about what you believe in, so that it can affect the grids. And of course, there's more prerequisites to having that type of influence. We talk about being an influencer in terms of social media because that was the hijack, right? Now everybody wants to be influencers. We're all narcissistically trying to be seen because that's where they've hijacked and moved our social attention. So all of those, like a lot of us, we don't even deal with people. We don't like dealing with people at all. So, but we're still social humans, and we're in the age of Aquarius, and Uranus has us, negatively, unfortunately. We're in the shadow side of Aquarius and Uranus in our culture, with having been abducted into the false antichristic metaverse, which is how I'm talking to you right now, where it was really supposed to, as I've said many times before, my battery's dying. It was really supposed to be about us connecting and creating a neural network and an empathic telepathic link, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. But instead, Facebook and actually before Facebook, MySpace, Facebook, and now take your pick of all the plethora of social networks and platforms that have abducted our souls, lured and seduced us into this technology, thanks to the Aquarian age, the shadow aspect of the Aquarian age. And so now we got to fight for our sovereignty on a even falser level than the matrix that we have. But anyway, I digress again. I'm just flowing tonight. But I really wanted this to be like about 10 minutes because I got some stuff to do. But okay, we're gonna go with it. So I was just saying, the state of beingness, was a really big deal, and that was a really amazing initiation. And I got to the point where I did receive some type of answer. I can barely remember it because it's not for the cognitive mind to remember in detail. But I just remember that it was super amazing when I got my answer from, again, Armand even was not, I saw it as a masculine feminine type thing too, as I tend to do. not so, it's not always so political, but it's just because our natures are masculine and feminine, even within ourselves. So it's not like it's just micro, macro, or within, without. So, you start inside and you have your masculine and feminine energies, is how we call them. But they could, they're just polarities. They could be positive, negative, dark, light, whatever. And, then again, especially for some of us who do the work in a certain type of way and who are here, who are chosen for certain types of things, you do it inside and then you see it, externally, after you've done it on the inside, alchemically. And that's how you create. And many of us create like that, I have so many things running in my mind right now, man. I want to talk about too. Like I'm really supposed to be on the shape-shifting thing, but I want to talk about, I kind of low-key want to talk about the haters. I've been trying to avoid that conversation for a while because, it's like tantruming children. When you give them attention, they keep going because they feel empowered by the acknowledgement, right? The whole point is for their ego to say, I exist, and I exist at a grand level that other people will validate my existence, right? And it's very immature and childish. For kids, it's okay when they're 2, 3, 4, 5. When they get beyond that, then they have to start being, shown and told how unhealthy it is, for their development to remain in such a centrated stance. So, but, as a parent, so you ignore it as a parent. If you're a good parent, you try to ignore it. It's not always easy, especially when they're tantruming and crying and, to get attention. And doing bad things. Then they start developing quote unquote bad, behaviors. They get in fights at school or whatever, just doing stupid stuff, right? And so it's the same with the haters who are really lovers, and the same with tantruming kids. They're not haters. They just want attention. They want love in that low vibrational form. So with those who really love you and want to be you, or want to possess something that they see you have, that they are afraid that they're lacking and they don't have. So envy and covetousness and jealousy and all of those things, are born of people who are insecure because they haven't developed enough on their own, that they want to take from someone else, to feel more validated and to feel, again, more love, at the bottom line. Dark, twisted love, but love, it's all based and built upon love, right? We just, aren't always seeing that in our in the omniscient aspect of our, because you got to merge with the divine in order to see it, right? So if you still, rolling around in the fucking pig mud, of your narcissistic ego, then you're gonna miss that, and you're just gonna be focused on self, and not the big self that again merges with all through love. You can't merge. You can fake it. Like antichristic again is always there as a choice of the same principle, but going in the opposite direction, right? So antichristically, people will try to hijack into other people's Akashic records, other people's aura, other people's fields. They'll even study mentally from that masculine aspect, like let's say like remote viewing, right? That's not, astral projection in its once more holistic perspective, but it's more of a mental process, a process that they've hacked a hack. It's a hack. There you go. So people will hack, vampire types will hack into other people's fields, and then again try to merge with aspects of them that most people are unaware of in themselves, or just, not into defending, because again, it's not always all about defense, because it's a larger picture. But the point is, I just feel led to say something to those I'm gonna give them a little attention on this particular video, because out of generosity, actually, out of generosity. But they've been very busy, and out of, almost like out of, I don't know if it's empathy, but it's like sympathy, kind of, because I just like feel so sorry for the ignorance of those who try to attack people, or steal energy from people, or are envious of people, which means that they're really in disgust of themselves. And they go around like, cowardly, secretly watching and attacking people from, what they think are blind spots, because everybody ain't blind, and they feel empowered that way. You know what I mean? And we're coming, mark my words right now in this video, we're coming very closely to the end of that in this cycle. 2023 is going to bring in some very unfortunate surprises. I mean, I shouldn't say unfortunate. It's just because I have a lot of empathy in general. Not me, but the spirit, the mother spirit, and just just being connected, and choosing the love aspect of, the Most High and all of creation. That many of those, it's just like the fallen ones, like the fallen angelics, which many of these are the children or disciples of, it's just unfortunate, because they really can choose, but they're in so much fear, that, because that's all it really boils down to, like anger and violence and rage and hatred and evil and darkness and all those things that we consider to be like anti, that some people get off on moving into that. It's all based on fear. It's really just love and fear. I know y'all have heard that many times, and it's very corny, like simplicity. But, sometimes you got to dig, you got to go there to, I don't know why we have to over sophisticate things so much. I mean, it's part of the game. I know why. It's an entertainment. It helps us to, bond with this experience that we're having, in the flesh, in the body, in 3D, in this particular human historical moment. But, sometimes that just gets so boring, like all the drama of it. Sometimes it's the entertainment, but other times it's just so fucking boring, and you really just need to like cut the chase and ask the question, what is all this bullshit about? And you get to, it's really just fear versus love. That's really the principles. So when you get lost and it all becomes too, too real and too intense, then you just go to the simplicity when people are doing dumb shit, and you realize it's just their fear, and then from the fear comes ignorance, right? And then the persistence of the ego will not allow you to see that what you're doing is just creating more problems for yourself and trying to lash out at others, right, in any form. So anyway, I was really trying to be a little more direct in letting, everyone know, particularly those who like to tune in and, track me visually, as well as, hanging out in the astral realms and, trying to do their little thing. That the portal's closing up now, and the karma is about to start rolling in, if it hasn't already started for some of you who are a little early with it. And that you do still have a chance. I like I'm on the little Christian thing right now, where it's like they have a little good formula for again, oversimplistic for a lot of y'all. A lot of y'all got to read 50 million books on the occult in order to get to the more, heady aspect of it. But it's really very simple. You just have to, it's like alcoholism or drug addiction or sex addiction or any addiction. When you have to just admit, confess, hey, I'm an alcoholic, and then you have to repent. I'm so sorry that this is what I've done to myself, to other people, through my abuse of, my greed and my lust and my abuse, which comes out of fear again, and the over need for pleasure based on the lack of feeling loved, which is what the focus should be, right? But you confess, you repent, and it's got to be a confession, because if you don't confess it, the ego will play fucking mind games with you. That's what the ego is about. And all of you who like to play mind games, that's more of an indication that you're stuck in the ego. But it will play mind games with you and give you, put you in that Luciferian state, that shadow Luciferian state of, well, I didn't do anything wrong. There's no such thing as wrong. I can't do wrong. I can do what I want. Do as thou wilt. You go into this whole little mindfuck game that takes you away from your soul's desire to be one and to atone at-one-ment, right? So the atonement is what comes through the confession and the repentance. It's got to be all of those. So, and repentance, again, it's a nice, fancy Christian word for just, just feeling the remorse of the harm that you've done to yourself as well as to others. And it's not like you've sinned, well, you have sinned against God, but it's like, it's an insult. It's an insult to the divinity within all of creation and within the Creator, to do harm in the manner that we do it from our fear and ignorance. So anyway, that was a quick channel that I just want to pour out. But again, I still didn't get to the shape-shifting. And it was really a more practical level that probably was more focused out of my ego, because I know a lot of people, I'll end on this if my battery lasts. I've always been a shapeshifter. I'm a mutable astrological sign. I have strong indigenous DNA. And then outside of that, I mean, it's just, it's whatever it's whatever spiritual tribe I come from, that has always seemed to know from the time I was on this planet, that concept. And it is, understanding that we are multidimensional and that our nature is to move like water. There's something that came out like a couple days ago that hit my conscious mind, something in the mainstream. But and I enjoy it, I enjoy it. All of us who are creative, which is starting to be everybody now, that's the whole point of creativity, to continue to express the different aspects of creation, right? And to express them from the self and with the whole. So shape-shifting, from the top to the bottom in its context, it's all about change, which is what life is, like the seasons, like the weather, like the everything. Like the creation of the genome genetically, phenotypes. I possess an identity, many identities, but one of them is the triple goddess. And so I shapeshift from, Virgin Maiden Crone. And it literally occurs, just without me trying to do anything. It's a part of the way my system operates. And so you may see me in many different forms, even on a, lesser grand level or internal level. Like you'll see it externally, phenotypically. It's part of the, again, the galactic spiritual and galactic tribe, and genetic DNA tribes that I come from, that I can recall, from Tuareg to, you know, um, I don't know, just all shamanistic to, um, you know, desert shape shifting tribes, um, and on and on, nomadically, whatever. Nomadic, that's another shape shifting type of, you know, thing. But yeah, so, you know, when you really get to the roots of, and you connect with your, because we all have indigenous ancestors, right? It just depends on how well you can tap into them. Some of us, you know, might be a little closer in our genome than others. And, you know, again, it's just what some of us do. So, shapeshifting is a really important thing to get into. And I'm just, the fact that I'm speaking about it randomly on this video, lets me know that it's probably going to hit center stage coming up and around here pretty soon. So it's a wonderful tool also to be able to use, because being stuck in an identity, again, is a trap of the ego. You have multiple identities. You do not have to pledge allegiance to one of them. We are programmed to think that we will be seen or known or labeled as bipolar, whatever they, I can't remember the name of the right now, because I'm not in that frame of mind of the clinical diagnoses of that, because they have clinical diagnoses for everything that is spiritually advanced state of you evolving, but it really will save you, you know, if you learn to shapeshift. And again, the starting point of that is really going into the heart, opening your heart, learning to love. Then from that, spreading out and connecting. You don't want to spread out and try to connect with people when you don't have any love in your heart, because then you will become a villain, which a lot of you get, you know, get turned on with the thought of being, because of all your pain, and you're embracing the darkness and your trauma as a child that led you to become ensnared and trapped and seduced by these entities who have been hanging out um, just to, you know, be invited in by young kids who were traumatized through sexual abuse or, you know, neglect or, you know, whatever. A lot of us picked up these entities at very young ages, and then, you know, we went into the program of, you know, not trusting our hearts and being able to open our hearts to not being able to open them, because then we did a little bit again and got, you know, got hurt by hurt people, because hurt people, blah 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 blah. Trying to pave the way of understanding. And like I said before, these next few years are going to see lots of things. I said it before anybody was saying it, and now people are saying that they're going to be quote unquote new age exorcisms. That's going to be the new thing coming up and around here, because everybody's going to finally admit, I told y'all that shit happened when they opened that portal, that Gulf of Aden, and all those entities that were not supposed to be, you know, moving into this dimension, moved into this dimension. A lot of, you know, archonic energy, and they began to, I mean, what do you think they're going to do? And it doesn't all happen in one snap moment. Oh, wow, we see the aliens, they're here, you know. I mean, that could happen too, like the extrinsic aspect of, you know, disclosure, but it's already a lot of entities that are here that came through a portal in a big way, like 10 years ago. And they have incorporated themselves into a lot of people, and people don't realize, a lot of young people especially, and they've been accommodated through, you know, the cultural shifts, get you some music, or some some what am I trying to say? Something that's gonna put you on a frequency, like a tuning fork. I was going to grab this tuning fork over here, or, I have crystal bowls that I pull out because they're actually packed up. And, get your cymatics lined up and attuned, because the frequencies and the hertz through the sound is so important. It's more than just about our ears. It aligns our entire somatic structure, and it tunes us into a certain reality based on the frequency that our body's cymatics are aligned with, right? And so by listening to the music that we listen to on a normal basis, I mean, I like it too. I be jamming to it all the time, because I'm multidimensional. You're not going to catch me in one space. I'm not just going to be, in the light or the dark or the whatever, the shadow. I'm going to be in all of them. But I got my priorities straight, and I know what is the best for, all of us. I believe in peace as an ultimate destination through all of the initiations and chaos and experiment and growth and destruction and creation. Ultimately, the Most High God is a God of goodness and not of wrath. In simplistic terms, we're not. It's not about all that bullshit. It's not about vampirism and hurting people and taking and using and being miserable, and that's not that ain't the destination. Okay, that's the result of ignorance and fear, which is a choice and was a choice, and everybody has a choice to make. But ultimately, it doesn't end in a win for those individuals, because they just get written out of the book of life, which is losing their consciousness, losing their God.